Started. Go live. Hey, how you doing?
Doing fine, and you?
I'm okay. I'm okay. I don't know where Venita. She's usually pretty early. Venita and Gio. I saw Gio a few minutes ago on Facebook, so I think she's headed this way.
Nice.
Oh, so what's happening in the world? What did I just read that no, that had me thinking about Venita. Yeah. But I did want to ask you what you think about the skyjacking.
Oh, at that point, I'm not surprised. It just shows Europe has become very weak politically.
Mm-hmm.
They've never done that in the 90s. So that shows that we lost all power. That's what happens with, NATO was an evil thing, but that's what happens when NATO collapses. And it's not just Trump. It precedes that, the day they invaded Ukraine, Crimea, normally would have been a world war.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't go there because just we know the Russians don't care. They'll drink vodka and bomb everything to oblivion when we're like, but frappuccino.
Yeah.
Barbecue. Which I get.
Yeah.
Beer. Yeah.
So you think that's where the U.S. is heading?
No, I think just Europe, because the US has enough nuclear weapons and a big army, where the European Union relies now only on France. Because everybody else's army sucks, and ours isn't that good, but it's still the biggest. And I think we're the last nuclear power in Europe, right? Yeah, the UK left, so.
Wow. Wow.
And our nuclear weapons aren't really, they're like, not that great. They're kind of big.
Yeah. Yeah. Let me check on Venita. Hey, Gio.
Hi, Gio.
Because I have not talked to Venita today, so I hope she's feeling okay. Oh, here she is. Okay, good. Hey. You saved me from, I was just about to text you, Venita, because I was saying I hadn't talked to you today, so I hope you were all right. You feeling okay?
I'm tired, girl, but I had a hard time getting in. I never have a hard time getting in, ever.
Uh-oh. Now we just lost Gio. Must be
near Connecticut right now, or because yesterday the internet at my home was horrible, so.
Oh yeah, it dropped a few times.
Yeah.
But the internet was on. And I don't know why, but I never have a hard time. But it just would not let me on. And I've been trying to get on since 5 or 6.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. That's why I was late at 5 or 6. I was like, okay. But the internet's bad. I don't know what's going on.
Well, we were just chit-chatting about the skyjacking.
Oh,
girl. And Rick was saying that Europe has become so weak that that's why they feel they can skyjack people.
Rick.
How are you doing, Venita?
Everybody is getting, I mean, you talking about gangster. I was like, it's not like you don't pull up on the side of a car, and you jack the car. I have never heard in my life someone jacking a aircraft with regular citizens on it.
France did. We forget about one thing. Remember when Julian Assange was suspected to be in a French airplane going to Bolivia, and we decided France has no extradition treaties with anybody. It's France. You don't extradite people. That's why we had communist terrorists for 30 years from Italy, and now we just gave them back. I know. And so we hijacked the thing and searched it. Since when? We're not the CIA's. Oh, yes, we are. We're the CIA's minions. We pretend we're powerful, but when it comes to sharing information, we need them. Well, it's the other way around. We shared about Iraq, and in August of 2001, we did send a cable to the United States saying, hey guys, we got data showing some people might attack the World Trade Center. And I think also Turkey sent a cable about that. And Israel, actually. Everybody, I think pretty much everybody sent a cable. Hey, there's a blip on the radar. But, you know, you can't trust secret services. Everybody all of a sudden now wants the Wuhan lab leak to be an official hypothesis. There's no new evidence. And also, what they unearthed just proves one thing. There's an infection that happened. It doesn't say if it comes from a lab, and I don't know what retro engineering technology the Chinese have to create such feat. You can't just enhance a virus if you don't know where you're going. So, you know, it's just, I'm seeing governments, now that things are settling down, all of a sudden that theory becomes a brand new thing, because they know judgment is coming. Now that people are calming down, lockdowns are easing, people are like, hey, wait, that was a mess. No, Chinese. They're coming.
How you doing, Gio?
Well, after I figured out a couple of settings, I'm doing okay now. Okay. It's always exciting.
Yeah. We've been on break, you know, so even just being off a few days, I kind of have to reacclimate myself to the steps. So I'm feeling that too. So, all right, well, since we are all here and since I have given up on my ex-sister-in-law, Cheryl, who had said she was going to join us early in the group, I guess that is not true. So why don't we go on and get started and welcome everybody to Reading for Change, a collective journey, a second discussion group together. A few weeks ago, we were discussing the coming plague, and now we are reading Debt, the First 5,000 Years by David Graeber. A pretty intense volume itself. Next week, we're on chapter 7, Honor and Degradation. But tonight, we are on chapter 6, Games with Sex and Death. And I can imagine what this chapter was going to be about. It's pretty interesting. So I guess because it's long, I'll go ahead and read the too long summary. It was a long chapter, though. Our debt society is founded on a legacy of war, conquest, and slavery, deeply embedded in our assumptions and institutions, found even in human economies and deployed by fascists, mafias, and right-wing gangsters everywhere in ways we can no longer see. This is the message of chapter 6, Games with Sex and Death, in Debt, the First 5,000 Years by David Graeber. Economic history tends to omit from the story of money the role of sex, women, and slavery. This exclusion blurs both past and present, and the fact that not much has changed in 5,000 years. The author examines what debt looked like in human economies and what happens in those societies when they are absorbed by larger market economies. Debt in human economies includes the exchange of women in arranged marriages, the offering of women as payment for blood debts, and the death of entire families for flesh debts. By the time commercial economies come into dominance, debt payments take the form of selling human beings into slavery. In human economies, unpayable debts are incurred among members of the culture. Unlike primordial debts between individuals and society or the cosmos, social currencies used by human economies typically have no value except in clothing, beautifying, and adorning the people. Governments and markets mark the start of currencies like barley, cheese, tobacco, or salt. The Tib of Central Nigeria provide a case in point on how arranged marriages should operate, with the exchange of sisters and repetitive payments of social currency like brass rods to the bride's family for the value of a woman that can never be fully repaid. Human economies like the Tib use social currency or blood wealth in attempts to settle blood feuds or pacify the family of a murder victim. Though as in arranged marriages, no payment is ever sufficient compensation for a lease. The Tib have three spheres of exchange: ordinary consumption of goods, masculine privileged goods, and rights in women, with food, cloth, and brass rods as mediums of trade. The Tib example also looks in on a culture that identifies flesh debts. Flesh debts incurred by highly successful men accidentally ingesting human flesh could only be paid with the death of the debtor's entire family and self. The case of the Lele of Congo allows a window to the world of blood debts. Graeber focuses on the way in which women of Lele society were used as pawns and village wives in payment of blood debts incurred by men who were seen as responsible for all death. Nightmares haunting societies are sometimes framed as debt, Graeber points out in his review of the Atlantic slave trade. Here, copper bars, arms, and African customs and complicity demonstrate what happens when a human economy encounters a commercial one and the world is forever changed. Graeber focuses on the way in which African systems of paying off debt became the method by which European traders acquired pawns and slaves. Mechanisms of human economies like debt pawnship were turned into methods of social destruction and facilitating the demands of the commercial economy fueled by the Atlantic slave trade. Slavery in foreign lands happened whenever human economies encountered commercial ones. Such was the case in Southeast Asia with Bali, serving as a rich source of peasants to be sold to the decadent, opium-addicted rulers of the 17th and 18th century for trade to slavers in Java. Some forms of violence are morally acceptable in human economies, the author finds. Violently ripping women and girls away from their web of relations makes it possible to use them in trade as a measure of debt and in exchange marriages. To summarize, Chapter 6, Games with Sex and Death, examines the intersection of human and commercial economies through the lens of the customs of Tib, Lele, and Bali people during the height of the Atlantic slave trade. As he did at the start of the book, again, Graeber asked, how is it that moral obligations between people come to be thought of as debts and as a result end up justifying behavior that would otherwise seem utterly immoral? Our beliefs, customs, and values go a long way toward answering this poignant question. And I, of course, forgot to do introductions. So I am Logan Michelle Odom in Brooklyn, New York. And my co-host, Rick.
Hi, I'm Rick Terry from Queens, New York.
Rick from Queens and Gio.
Hi, I'm Georgette Moses from Columbia, South Carolina. Here's my book. Okay.
And my best friend.
Hi, I'm Venita Walker, joining you from Cromwell, Connecticut. Here's my book.
Oh, all right. So, where do we start? Where do we start? Who feels like reading question 1?
Rick?
Sure. What, if anything, did you learn in this week's readings?
I'm sorry, question 4.
Oh, sorry. Okay. In some places, suitors acknowledge the enormity of being given a wife and the impossibility of paying this debt, such as the Tiv of central Nigeria. The Tiv insisted a proper marriage should take the form of an exchange of sisters. This is the perfect marriage because the only thing one can really give in exchange for a woman is another woman. Men would become guardians of the women till they did not want to marry to be disposed of as they saw fit. This system created very complex arrangements with fortunate men accumulating multiple wives and less fortunate men marrying late in life or not at all. What thoughts do you have on arranged marriages or specifically on the approach of the Tiv people to marriage? Why was it always the women being secured? If women had to offer a husband price, would we do so? Are there or have there been cultures where the women pursue the man? My body, my choice is a relatively new idea from the perspective of human history. Today's Supreme Court is again addressing the issue of abortion. Do you suspect the court will uphold our modern view of individual rights or lead us back to the ancient ways?
Okay. Thank you. I think I've started reading the next chapter, chapter 7, and he talks in there a little bit about the dowry, where it is the woman's family that is paying a dowry to the man's family. I think, is that right, Rick? So I guess he doesn't use the word, but I guess that's a husband price.
More than that, in India, it's that in cultures like that, it's reversed. The man is rare. The man is unpayable. He is a warrior. He is the reincarnation of millions of lives. And the woman too, but the woman is a charge because she is giving birth to a child, and that child might be cursed by karma. The gods might decide to give birth to a child that needs to be punished through an inferior form or inferior life. Therefore, that is a burden, a karma burden. So it's a new moral challenge given by the gods to the man. So the man needs compensation to get ready for the challenge. It's a little, And to your question, why they chose women in most cultures, you have something we don't. You're very, very, very interesting because not only can you become, pawns, but you have matrices. You have a matrix. Therefore, we can breed slaves. So one woman is several slaves. A man is just a slave. When he dies, he dies. A woman, you impregnate her every year for 4 years, you got slaves that are yours. And so it's like a car that multiplies itself from a purely commercial point of view. And that's why for centuries, Romans, everybody, like there's the Roman myth of the Sabine. So it's an old myth that at one point in Rome's history, they didn't have enough women. So they went fight the Etruscs in the north and just kidnapped their women and impregnated them, and they created Rome. It's part of the creation of Rome, but that's in mythology. Like, hey, we don't have enough women. And also for isolated villages, women mean you impregnate them, you renew the lineage, you move away from incest and from dangers from the community. So women from the start in Mesopotamia became goods because of that. Better goods than men. Men are just, they can work.
Lucky us.
No, that's why I think they're against abortion, you guys having access to your body, because you lose commercial value the moment you can control if you're impregnated or not. Which is like, that's against nature. Well, against my wallet because I need your children. It's really cannibal. It's ogres. the fairy tale of ogres. There you go. You know, vermin. I'm gonna Star Wars too. Layla. It's still in our subconscious, this idea of a slave woman having a lot of value, especially if she's aristocratic. You know, think about how
are you feeling valued?
Not on
as a
that
good,
level.
as a good.
Not on that level. Oh my goodness. Oh.
Are you feeling valued to know that you can just be snatched up at any point and turned into a baby making factory?
And that's why Muslims have veiled women. It's their alarm on the car. That was the thing, you know, because in the past, you wanted land, you looked at women, you're like, hey, she's the daughter of that landlord. Let's rape her. He'll be forced to marry her to me and give me his land. So they veiled them. So like, who is who? I'm not kidding you. That comes from there, even in ancient Greece and Rome. Rome, they had veils. In every society, they veiled women. Until they were like, ah.
This is some deep history. Some deep history. Venita, would you buy yourself a husband?
No.
Why not?
Why would I? I mean, it's like, you know what I mean? You got men falling out the sky. What's the ratio?
You can get a good deal during President's Day, usually.
Okay.
Well, you know, we've been in COVID, you know, for a while now, and inflation, hyperinflation is about ready to hit.
Oh, but
So,
white men are a cell, by the way. White straight men, it's difficult right now. We're ready to make an effort. We're discounting ourselves. This is a unique offer, 2 for the price of 1. And if you're lucky enough, you get 3 more. Enter a lottery.
No, thank you.
No, see, Rick, that's not right.
I'm trying to be a good sales representative. I'm trying.
Okay. Oh my God.
Oh,
No,
God.
really, I couldn't even imagine. You know, which brings you to arranged marriages. You know, I guess that's all you know. Then I think that's what you do. But if you ask my husband, they bring me back. They'd be like, no,
it's broken. It doesn't work.
Yeah. Wrong arrangement, wrong arrangement.
Oh my God.
Drop her back off on the step. Because she's
when I try to turn it on, it turns off. What's going on?
Yeah. Well, you know, I'm a rebel. Like, she's not ready to succumb to the mother-in-law's whims. She's not cleaning up her house and massaging her feet. Drop her back off.
But that issue comes up in the chapter toward the end. You know, he tells that story about the young woman being given to old leper.
Yes.
And even if she tries to go back to her original family, they beat her up.
Yeah.
And send her back to the man. And so he's making the point that because girls know that, that's why this system of human enslavement is able to go on. But nobody's coming to your rescue.
It happens today. There are many women that are being abused. They will go run home to their parents. Depends on what culture you're in. And they will send them right back to their husbands right here in the United States of America as we sit here right now. So this is no foreign thing. It happens every day.
America is the last Western country to have no real limit on child marriage in many states, as long as the parents agree. And also, in some states, if you impregnate the girl who's a teenager and you're not a teenager, but you marry, there's no more statutory rape. I'm not kidding you. You see that and you're like, and there's been even New York State that exist, and there's been pushes to repeal those laws, and guess what? There's been resistance. Why? Because freedom or shit like that. It's incredible when you think about it. It's insane that it still exists.
That actually happened to a young man that was he won a football scholarship, very bright young man. He was actually a scholar / athlete. And he was happened to be Black and won a football scholarship. And this young lady that he was dating, I guess, got pregnant while he was in college. Actually, before he went to college. But because he was 18 and considered an adult, and she was 17 or 16, I think it was, he was charged with statutory rape. Mm-hmm. That's where I have this issue. You know, you're 17, they're 18. In some states, you're 18 and they're 20. You know, most times, you know, young girls will have a guy that's older than her.
But because
if
in
he's 16,
America,
right? And so it's just it's almost like this, you know. And it was really sad because again, he was a scholar athlete, and he won a full scholarship, and it was snatched away from him. Plus, he was arrested and went to jail.
Well, that's where, you know, as a white man, I can tell you that wouldn't have happened to me. Because there are exceptions, but when it comes to, there's also this strange perception. Those marriages, arranged marriages, exist in Western culture and even the so-called developed countries, but we don't notice them. Yeah. However, when we look at other people, not necessarily other cultures, can be just Black people, Asians in America, doing the same thing, then we think it's cultural. Then we think it's barbaric.
Yeah,
it's odd. Like, you know, you think about how they excise women in some countries in Africa. You know, that procedure where you remove clitoris without anesthesia when they're 8, which is a horrible. I mean, it's assault, mutilation. You can't call it what. In New York, some rabbis, Hasidics, who are not even ancient, just 70 years, will bite the tip of the penis of the infant when they circumcise. Bloomberg, Mount Sinai, all of them went against that, and because they discovered babies with herpes all of a sudden. Where did that come from? So they acted and they prohibited that, and even the Jewish scholars said that's unacceptable, etc., and wrote, you know, de Blasio canceled that rule because he needed the finances from that community. So that tells you how our society decides this is not cultural. Well, it is, but it's good culture. On the other side, that's bad culture, you know, barbaric. So children are also property, because it's not any women that were traded. They had to be very young. They had to be. There was no test of virginity. The best test of virginity is taking them very young. So, you know, for example, Braveheart, the movie. The princess, she's not, Sophie Marceau is 30. The princess was 12.
Wow.
Yeah, they live until 30.
Yes.
What's the Supreme Court gonna do with abortion?
Oh my God, we have too many conservatives on there. So
we sure do.
I have no idea. I mean, why do we keep having this fight over and over? And what is it? Is it anybody's business what's going on in somebody else's, you know, uterus? I mean, get out of my drawers.
That's the thing. If we are actually having a fundamental difference of opinion about whose body, you know, who has the right to control a body, if it's not clear that it is the individual, then we have to keep having this fight.
Well, if you think about it, we're paying the price of the cowardice of politicians who didn't pass a bill. Every single country out there. So France, it's 16 weeks. Spain is 24 weeks after you realize you don't have your period anymore, not when you're supposed to have them. And the reason there's a limit, it's a limit for non-medically necessary abortions. And the reason for that is there's an idea of personal responsibility even for teenagers, because in Europe, not only do we have abortion, we don't say pro-choice abortion. We make it very neutral. It's abortion is okay, but teenage girls don't have to obtain authorization from their parents in any European country, even Poland. They fight that, but to get the pill, the pill, and also to get Plan B. I mean, we could get Plan B at my middle school at the infirmary. Very discreet. They give it.
What's Plan B?
Wow.
Done. The pill, when you know the little pill, when, oh, I think I made a
You
mistake, I'm not
take
getting
it,
my period.
yeah,
Here you go.
after you get, you have sex
So
and you're not sure what
so they don't
happened.
ask, so even if your culture, your family wouldn't tolerate that, it's your choice. So they make sure it's your choice, but they give you access to contraception. They give you sex ed. We had incredible sex ed in France because it was like very scientific, and also, why you should avoid not wearing condoms. That's herpes. That's showing us images when we're
Mhm.
13, 14, like to now I know. I'm like, oh, those are wingworms. Yes, you'll get them. Just don't touch people all the time. So
Oh,
that's
right.
better than God will smite you. But what I'm saying is that
Yeah.
in America, if they were truly against abortion, they will legislate to create a limit, but also they would give access to contraception. No abortions. But no, the real problem is that women don't give birth to children that can become then consumers, and especially white consumers. Because look at how the Spanish guys, when they try to pass their own bill repealing abortion in Spain, and then everybody was in the street. I don't know if you remember that story. They explicitly said there are not enough Spanish women anymore. There are too many immigrants. We need to preserve our culture. They're aborting too
Wow.
much.
Well, that I
Wow.
can see.
That's
Mhm,
clearly the thing.
mhm.
On economics.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely economics. Like I think in some countries like Italy, right? The I think they are very liberal with their leave, their maternity leave, and when the woman
Mm-hmm.
can come back to work and she still has benefits. Now, if you're so
Mm-hmm.
concerned about whether or not she's having an abortion, because you need to have that life here on the planet because you're so concerned, make it easier for the woman to care for the child. So I mean, it's really bipolar here in the West. What do you want us
Mhm,
to do? Or is it just certain groups of us that you want, to
mhm.
control what the population who the population
I
consists
think
of?
it's more the case because
But
the
there
same
is a
is
way.
in Denmark also. You have these very generous maternity leaves. You have a stipend. I'm surprised they'll send somebody to your house, to help you. No, really. And women here to the day still have to save all their vacation time, all their sick time, pray they have a healthy child, pray, God forbid you don't, or you're not healthy, or you don't have a sitter in 6 weeks. You're supposed to drop your infant off to
Yeah.
a total stranger
Mhm,
in a sadistic country where you can't drop off your doll to nobody.
mhm.
Yeah, I'm not trying to be funny.
No, it's true.
It's amazing. It's amazing. But that's all geared at the poor and what used to be middle class, which is now poor people. Okay, because the wealthy don't have a problem, or the upper middle class don't have a problem with that. You can have the
Mhm.
nanny come in. As a matter of fact, she's not even going to work. She had the nail salon.
Mhm.
But
So it really is that they're targeting us as usual.
and to your point, Vanita, not only is there large maternity leave in Europe, but the biggest progress in the past 20 years is that they made it into law that both parents need to take the leave. There's no
Mm-hmm.
choice. There's
Wow.
the
That
the
is true.
employer gets fined,
Okay.
so the guy has to do it. So here's how they do it: one after the other, or together at the same time, depending on how you want to do. For example,
Mm-hmm.
if the father, hey, maybe I should start because your career is important right now. You had this
Right.
promotion coming on. You were pregnant. Let me take the first
Right.
round, or together. But you don't have a choice. And they made that so that women wouldn't get fired, because I had friends who got fired. The guy rather paid the fine, because you're 28-year-old women. Oh, you have a boyfriend and you're 28. That's serious, right? Yeah, yeah. Okay, 6 weeks later, you're fired. Why? We can't, we can't pay for maternity leave. So that's why France did that. For example, in Italy too. But again, contraception. And there's a thing that we could do in America to play devil's advocate and force these guys to reveal their true colors. No problem. No abortion. None. No contraception. None. However, a child is born. Whatever we DNA test the child, we find the father must pay for all of his life for the child's support. Doesn't have a choice. The government will take from their account and give it to the woman. Whatever the woman. Wear protection, you moron. Because now it's for real.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a lot of women, they get pregnant, they get the child, and then where's the father? He's fleeing, and then to get the justice system to force him to pay takes 6 years. You don't have time for that. You need to work, feed a new mouth. So
Yeah.
usually women who are desperate go to another man, creating a horrible cycle of dependency, and you have 6, 7 children on welfare. And it's not because she is an idiot, like you hear comedians say. It's because nobody among men seem to be man enough to take care of the things they leave behind. So, but those are debates you don't find among men. It's like, women should not abort. It's a life. And did you take care of your child? Oh, but she's a bit.
Right. I know. Venita,
Yes.
will you read question 10, please?
As long as there's no African names in there I can't pronounce, let's see. Be quiet, Gio. I've been trying. Okay, where are we? Question 10. There we go. The newer custom, is that the way it's pronounced?
I think so.
Custom includes marrying a dead man. Wait a minute, hold up. I'll start from the beginning. I don't know if I read that right. Okay, why would you do this? The newer custom included marrying a dead man who did not have children to a ghost wife. She could become impregnated by the victim's brother or most anyone. And her children would be considered those of the deceased, with any boys expected to avenge their father's death. All right. A, work wife, virtual wife, Facebook wife. The concept of ghost wife doesn't sound as strange to me as I think it should. Personally, I'm married to Frederick Douglass, and the others are married to Jesus. What?
Is he like they said he was?
All right, okay. So, what other adjectives would you attach to the start of the noun wife if you were engaged in creating culture? B, if you were choosing a deceased fictional person to marry, whom would you choose and why? Anthony Bourdain.
Oh, he can cook and he's funny.
He can cook. He's interesting. He's empathetic. He travels around the world. He really is in tune with people. Anthony Bourdain.
Okay.
That's a good one.
But now it is your duty, as well as your future son, to avenge his death by eating a ton of cultural goods from all over the world while traveling and speaking to interesting people. You have to prolong his legacy. It's your mission.
I didn't say, I was going to do all that, Rick. The question was, okay, and I answered the question. Now, once I start getting to the other stuff, that's when it's time for me to go.
One does not marry Anthony Bourdain with no plan. It's against karma, against the gods, the death of creation.
Oh my goodness.
I'm going to talk to the villagers.
I don't know, Rick. I'm not up on the rest of it. Anthony Bourdain, and once they start talking about other stuff, then I have to run away. No.
You're a bad ghost wife. You're a very bad ghost wife. You're poor dead
Oh
man.
my
You're poor
God.
dead man. What a,
That's my
he's such a
plan,
great
and
singer.
that's the plan, Rick. I'm sticking to it. I'm telling you, that is the
Oh
plan.
my goodness.
That takes a lot of imagination to just look at this kid and say, okay, you are the son of Bob.
Anthony Bourdain.
Okay.
You got a child born with physical disabilities. You're like, I was the ghost wife of Mike Tyson. Your role in life is to become a major boxer, but mom, it's difficult for me. Box, I can't walk.
You know what, Rick?
That happens in real life when you think about it. How many children are broken by parents who wanted them to pursue their dream?
Well,
Like,
many
you owe
are.
this debt to me. You
No,
owe to
no,
become
no.
a sportsman. You owe to become a doctor. You owe me. It's still there,
I see.
Ultimately,
I
again,
see that.
flesh.
No,
flesh
Rick, I
debts.
see that every day, Rick. No. That is strong and alive and well. It's not just people from other parts of the world, namely people from Africa or islands. It's right here, American people that live they have their children living in the shadows of what they want them to be. I see it all the time. I saw it even when the kids play sports. It's fun. If you happen to be fabulous, that's cool. But you have parents out there that had decided when they were 7 that they were going to go to the NBA, the NFL, the N something, and that is what their whole focus is. You're going to be a doctor. You're going to be a lawyer. It's the saddest thing I ever saw. And I've seen it actually destroy children. I know people that are adults today that have all kinds of issues. I mean, when I say issues, I mean real
Serious ones, yeah.
deep, serious issues because of that.
Well, there's a strange
It's a
thing.
shame.
In ancient times, children who were bastards who didn't have families ended up being mercenaries and warriors. And the funny story, I'm a big MMA. I used to practice a lot of mixed martial arts, and now with my knee I can't, but I'm still a big amateur. And you hear a lot of fighters say, well, when I was a kid, I wanted to be a football player, or because my dad wanted me to be, or I was in wrestling because my dad was. And when I won the Olympic medal, like Daniel Cormier, it was over. And another guy say, once in football, I didn't make it. It was over. So they go into mixed martial arts, when it includes getting stomped on the face on the ground. It's very brutal, very intense, because they still want to achieve this dream. And you hear that all the time on The Tough, which is a reality show where young fighters come in and train with major champions. You hear that story all the time. And it's like, I'm so desperate, I can't repay my debt to my father, that the last thing left for me is to show him I'm a warrior in the most violent, brutal, difficult sport out there. It's crazy. I mean, MMA is great, but not everybody should go there. If you're not a fighter, trust me, even if you're athletic, that happened to a football player. He won 1 or 2 fights, and then there's a knockout that's famous. He gets knocked out, and he's trying to wrestle the referee coming to his aid because he's so knocked out, he thinks he's still in the fight. Trying to wrestle. The guy's like, no, but you're knocked out. Sorry. But that, again, this idea of debt, self-harm.
Right.
It is.
Right.
Okay.
What humans do to each other is just astounding.
I mean, then again, you
what
could.
other adjectives would you attach to the start of the noun wife? And, I should have put there housewife.
Zombie wife.
Who?
Well, you're married to a dead man. You're a zombie wife.
Oh.
Hey, what are you doing?
That's one thing I cannot stand is the word. I could never stand that word.
What
Housewife.
Oh, house.
When I stayed home, I told them I was the domestic engineer. I am the CEO and the CFO and the COO of 17 Scotland. I am why there's life in that home.
Okay.
Because I remember one woman took one day, she said, oh, you're a housewife. I almost lost my mind. I'm like, girl.
I'm a corporate wife.
Yes. I mean,
Don't joke.
It's like, it's just so, something about that bothers me. It really, really bothers me. a housewife. Like it's almost like being an indentured slave. That's what it is.
That's what it is.
It's a trigger for me. It's like housewife. I mean, what are you talking about? I'm a mother that's taking care of my children and taking care of my home. Do you mind?
You know what my sister used to say? Marriage is legalized slavery. And it is. For women. It is. There's the duty to consume marriage is not on the man. It's on you. We can cancel marriages if women don't have sex with us, which is, wait, what? What? So that's legalized. That's legal backed rape. You have to have sex with your husband for the marriage to be, you can annul a marriage if there's no personal, it's odd. So but I think something that really shocks me in Housewife is a story I read a few years back. I think Upper East Side or West Side, New York. They're rich CEOs of Wall Street. They give dividends to their wives depending on their performance as a housewife every year, and they expect that, like their employees.
Wow.
So you see
well, you know what? That's not a problem. If you're going to call me housewife,
I have to find the article. But they get like,
you know what? I understand that, Rick. If you're going to put the word house in front of wife, okay, well, yeah, I expect a salary for that.
But that means still it's possible because originally it was never about love. That transfer from a slave economy to a capitalist economy is possible for wives because they're still goods or services. They're not people. And that's what bothers me in this so-called, oh, now it's equal. Like, no. First of all, something that still shocks me since I'm a child, and also I'm the generation that didn't really get married. I want a commercial where a man loads a washing machine. Because I do it. I don't care. I don't know that girl, that lady. Why is she mopping the floor? I'm mopping the floor too. You are still doing that in commercials in 2021, despite the fact that I have no women to do it for me. So how do I know if it works for me as a man to do it this way? Maybe not. Maybe I'll get lower back pain. And stop with those perfumes. I want musk in my Lysol. Sick and tired of lavender.
You want musk in your Lysol?
Manly otter.
Rick, you take it to a whole new level, Rick.
Oh my
well, I don't know. My husband knows how to load dishwashers. He knows how to bathe children. He knows how to cook. He's an excellent cook. He knows how to keep a baby alive because he knows if he don't keep that baby alive, if I step out that door, you understand what I'm saying? So, no, but we never even had that kind of thing going on. My husband knows how to do everything that I know how to do. There's some things I do better. There's some things that he does better. Not many, but some things he does better. And, and this, so he always has done everything. It's not like, oh, that's a woman's thing to change a baby's diaper or bathe your child or make a meal or like just never was a thing.
Well, you were lucky because even my generation, I thought we had progressed a little bit as men saying, yeah, we don't really want every woman we have interactions with end up being our wives and at home all the time. And we go back to this. I mean, it's crazy, like this whole incel thing about cheaters and stuff. There's I don't know, Lacan, the French psychoanalytic expert, used to say the jealous husband. A husband is miserable because he thinks his wife cheats on him. So he spends his time thinking about it, destroying himself. However, even if it were true, it would still be a neurosis. And that's the whole thing of Lacan, is that even if your wife does indeed cheat on you, the rational decision is you're not comfortable with it, you can get angry, but you wouldn't think about it all the time. It would be like, well, it would be over. You need to think about that to give yourself a function as a strong man. The neurosis is that you're weak, or you think you're weak deep down, but you want to prove yourself you're in control, and the best way is to be paranoid. And men live through this toxic masculinity in this way. It's not that we're right or wrong, even if we were right, and women are like sleeping with everybody and they just want money. Don't marry them then, and don't have sex with them without protection. If you're a true sexist, why do you want to control women? You want to stay away from them. So the paradox is that Men are like, and this is where it's horrible. I think women are enslaved to children when you think about it. The horrible like horror movie. Men are children in like outside of home. We're this an expert and incredible. Oh, look, I'm a warrior. Inside home, we cry, we beat the walls, we beg, we want sex like little children. You know, and women have to deal with that, and if they speak, people say you shouldn't talk like that about your husband. But a man talking to his
Yeah,
friends
but
about his wife being a bee, everybody's like, "Hey, bro, don't worry, we're going to the strip club tonight." We have no moral grounding. We are not, we are in control. We're the masters. It's what it means. And again, to the idea of we justify morally reprehensible ideas because it makes sense to our interest.
Mhm. We know. Geo.
I'm still thinking about what Rick just said, because that, I mean, from the outside looking in, all of this looks like, a bunch of crazy people running around, procreating and trying to, you know, uh, control other people's existence.
Yes.
And so, what Rick said about, his generation, they want to perform a particular way, but then, because culturally, right, and peer pressure demands that the image that, has been created for them to fulfill, but they just want to be human too. But how do you
Mhm.
do that and still function in a society that is so duplicitous that it demands you act a certain way and produce a certain thing, and in the meantime, you're psychologically and emotionally just crumbling inside because that's not what you really need and not what you want. And so, wow, I mean, and then just historically, all of these anecdotal stories in this chapter about, I'm like, when are we not going to commodify each other? You know, that is oh my God, such a problem. And I have to reflect on a movie I watched last night when I was reading this chapter. Just doing two things at the same time. And it's on Netflix and it's called I Am Every Girl. And it's based in South Africa on a true story, or, a dramatized true story
Mhm.
about a man who was, they caught him, he was abducting girls, young girls, for a National Party minister because they had a pedophile, a human trafficking ring, and most of the girls would be sent to Iran and East Asia for whatever reason, but a lot of the girls who were missing ended up being used up uh, in South Africa and then murdered.
Mm.
And so the man's his confession tape was not released because of the political, connections. So,
Mhm.
and I mean, you could really, empathize with why still, in every country you are finding this, the devaluation. I mean, the girl has value, but not as a human being.
Mhm.
So why is this repeated everywhere? And still we're supposed to be, so evolved, now, and yet we can't solve this problem with all of our technology and willpower and manpower. There's got
Mhm.
to be something else going on here.
Oh, you're hostages to one thing. The reason why you look at the economies of women in slavery, they always happen in times where you're trying to avoid war. The tension of war. Remember that story about the people in Australia who were having these rituals of replicating a day of war where there's pillage, rapes, and in the bushes
And
and
having
tobacco exchange?
sex, the sexual trade parties.
Exactly. In nature, lions, I saw a documentary the other day. They can kill the cubs of the other lion to make sure they get the lineage and they get the and use and to saw an image of a lioness going to lion and all around him to protect her cubs, make sure the lion would leave them alone, like, you're so beautiful. It was like she was trying to, it's, when we say only humans kill each other, it's not true. To lure him away and, let him have his thing, whatever. But that means
Wow.
lions need to fight each other to the death sometimes. And also goats in nature, like you look at elephants fighting each other, they kill each other. They rip their faces off, and it's horrible because they die slowly after the fight. But then you have the elephant killing all his cubs in front of him, like, now it's my female. It's my lineage. Well, if we exchange women, the losers who can't get women, see where I'm going with that, will still get some. So no more war, no more I have to fight. So all the weaklings out there are for these laws controlling women's body because they can't get them on their own. And they're scared that to get them, they need to fight bigger guys. Look at incels always saying, oh, girls, the whole thing. You heard, I even said it when I was 15, 16. Oh, girls, they always like to date the bad guys. They look at me. I'm a good guy. You hear that all the time. Well, that's what this whole exchange thing is. I don't want to fight the bigger guy for this very hot woman. However, maybe she can be given to me by law. We men vote.
Wow.
We're a majority. We want free women. And the warriors are like, okay, we'll go find you some free women. Let's go to, where can we go? We can't go here. Oh, what's that in the south? Africa? Let's go.
Oh, God.
Think about it. That's, do you know any porn stars who want to control women's bodies? No, because they're too busy getting a lot of women. No, seriously, think about all the guys killing women, being violent towards women. They always have this, not my wife, because they know they can't get another one easily. And this pressure on us of, we need women. If you don't have a woman, if you don't have several women, which is contradictory, you need to be a good man, married man, but you also need to have sex with a ton of women. That's why married men can't be faithful for at least 50 years. Women could be. Men, never seen a man being faithful more than 4 years, I guess. That was the longest I heard. So
maybe he's not kissing and telling.
It's about I kiss and tell all the time. That's why everybody hates my guts and wants my skin. Not all. But no, I mean, women are hostages of man's personal problems. And I always say feminism should not target women's rights, but psychoanalysis, the Me Too movement should become Me Too, man, I did something like that. It doesn't mean Me Too, I did slap a woman. Me Too, I did touch a woman when she's unconscious. Me Too. Men don't do that. This is a real movement. Men need to free themselves from this toxic culture because it makes us miserable. I mean, I have my knee and my back to testify of that because I wanted to show I could become an athlete. And to this day, I still have pain. And it makes me stressed and cranky. And when a woman says, hey, you want to... So free yourselves from men, run away, try to create androids for whatever you need to do sexually, and leave us be in our misery, because honestly...
Well, yeah, and I have been happily single all my life. And, I say all the time, I had 3 brothers. I still have 3 brothers. And I saw enough growing up with them that I was in no hurry, to sell myself into indentured servitude. And I always felt like if I found the right man, like Venita's husband, if I found the right man, then I would be open to marriage. But most people are not even trying to have the level of dialogue that I think you need to have to create a fair, harmonious, mutually healthy kind of relationship. They just want to fall into patterns that come from this broader culture without understanding where those attitudes and behaviors come from. And Sally ain't down with that.
Think how it destroys a lot of lives. Your husband cheats on you. He's a good man. You've always, okay, you divorce. Or a woman cheats on the husband. The woman is okay. She just, you divorce. But you were a good couple. We still think sex means, sex is the guarantee your children are yours. It's still property. And I think one of the knots of the problem is that not only women need to be freed from that state of mind, but children as well. Children are seen as property by
What I tell
men.
you?
My children, I do whatever I want with. No, you don't. No, you don't.
Right.
You can't hurt your child because you think it's the right way to raise your child. No. That's why there's a Declaration of Children's Rights. And remember, most women who are trafficked for sex are trafficked when they're still minors. Again, highest value. And
Well,
so
also mentally abused children. Let's not forget about that, because a lot of the abuse that I've seen is more mental abuse than physical abuse.
Yeah.
Okay. And if someone hits you, that old adage, that thing will go away. But the mental abuse is in your head for as long as you're alive. And that I've seen, and that's why when I say the things I do, is like, do you owe your parents? I just cannot, that's another thing that bothers me besides housewife. My children are not my property. They're not my property. They become adults. I do the very best I know how, and then the birdies go free. You don't owe me anything. And yes, I do believe in that you did not ask to come here. This is a true statement. Because if most of us had a choice, not only we might not want to come, but we might choose different people. So when they get older and it's time, as they grow and they mature and you do the best that you can do as a parent, the only thing I want from you is to be the best you can. That's your life, not mine. I don't need that to fulfill anything in me. I'm not tripping on myself. I don't need anybody to stroke my ego. I just, and I hear that all the time. It's like this. When I grew up, it was like that. I heard that a lot, which is why I cast myself out the family.
Cast yourself.
Yeah, Gio, they didn't have to cast me. Nope.
Oh no, she already did it. We wanted to do it. She left.
and you know what? You did the price to pay for that. People actually have this thing with you because you had the courage very early on to say, this is some crazy. And I don't think I want to do that. I don't mind if you do it. And that's the sad part. It's not like you criticize what they do or how they do it. I'm just saying that's not what I choose. But if you make another choice and you become the black sheep, no pun intended. But I was willing to wear that badge. That's not a problem for me because this life is mine. So again, you ain't got to cast Venita out. Venita cast her own self out. And that was very disappointing for a lot of people.
Did you ever read Bartleby? It's a short story by Melville.
No.
And it reminds me of what you're saying because they find a way to punish people like you in the book. It's a guy going into a 19th century office in Boston, and he's they're just I think they're like legal writers. They write all the time, all the bills, the journals when there was no massive print. So all old cranky guys attached to their position. Guy comes in and said, and he sees him just watching through the window at his pulpit, not doing anything. Says like, could you work? I would rather not. So the guy's taken aback. And each time he asks him to do something, he says, I would rather not. So he's like, he's stupid or what? So he starts thinking, maybe he's stupid and we shouldn't be so bothering him. And then after a while, the more he says that, he can't get rid of him. So he's like, oh, but I think you need to leave. I believe that, you're not a good fit for this position. I would rather not. So the guy's like, wait, he's here in the morning. And he ends up managing to get the guy institutionalized, and it's for his own good. This guy is clearly not able to take care of himself. He is, actually. And then he goes to see him, and the guy is very somber. And he starts trying to, hey, are you okay? And he refuses to talk to him. He doesn't say, I would rather not anymore. And the whole thing about the short story is how our social expectations, in my opinion, I'm not sure, I'm not an expert on Melville, about what people ought to do determines if they're normal or sick. And therefore, if they say, I would rather not, to things that, well, you need to eat, you need to work. Well, why would you rather not? I mean, come on, you're fired. I would rather not leave. You got to go. I'm not going to call the police. It's going to create a scandal. People are going to think I'm not a good manager. The whole story is about that. And he ends up finding a way like it's charity. But no, deep down inside, charity cases are people you want to exclude from society. Because you really want people with disabilities to live better, don't give money. Call your representative and tell them, I'm not voting for you until there are elevators everywhere for every subway station in every single city in this country. And also, if they don't get enough money so they can be helped to get employment from home. No, we're not doing that. We're calling them and say, hey, these pedophiles from Washington are drinking the blood of our children, and they stole the election through bamboo voting bills, and you gotta take them back.
Let's move on. Of course, I have an inordinate number of questions here, only because I had way too much time to play with myself.
That didn't sound right, Michelle.
Yeah, I was
It
wondering.
sounded like something a husband would disagree with. There's some dishes that need to be cooked. Stop playing with
I want
yourself.
to be sure we get in this, at least one of the questions on slavery. Gio, would you read question 25, please?
25.
Oh, shoot.
Okay.
Let's see it.
European slave traders would demand 2 or 3 pawns, people, from the family of the African trader as security for every 3 slaves to be delivered, preferably including at least one member of the merchant's families. Tired of waiting, captains would sometimes take off with a cargo of pawns. Question A. What must be going on in your head as you look at your family members to determine who will be used as a pawn and or traded into slavery? B. If you had the opportunity to sell off some of your family members without saying their names, do you know whom you would trade first? You're wrong, Michelle. You're wrong. Okay. C. How do you think you would feel if one of your family members used you as a pawn or traded you as a slave for copper bars? And D. Are there comparable ways in which we use family members today? And if so, please give an example. How about pimps and hoes? Do these arrangements strike you as similar or different from the slave trade?
Thank you.
So, Gio.
I loved it. All my family members. I ain't trading them.
You know what? And that's a wonderful thing, Gio. That's wonderful. So the ones you would have traded, I assume, are dead.
So ghost owners?
There gotta be a couple of them that gotta go.
Ghost
Gotta be a
You have
couple
a ghost slave. Oh, cool. What does he do? Nothing. He'll help you in your future life.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I get that really what we think of as love and caring are relatively new and Western concepts. The stuff we're reading about is much more deeply ingrained in our experience and our psyches. So I guess when you're looking across the dinner table, deciding who you're going to offer into slavery, you're not feeling like that's my loved one. Yeah, so I'm trying to put my finger on what are you feeling?
Well, that's
Yeah,
not
but
true.
if you get somebody better in exchange,
But that's not true,
you see,
Michelle.
that's white culture coming back. Because think about it, your uncle sucks, but you can get a cool cousin of the female kind. Yeah, think about it. Depends on
What
the
are you
exchange.
saying, Venita?
I said, I guess it would depend. Because if it was some of the people that I know, and it doesn't have to be immediate family, it could be, distant cousins or whatever. Yeah, I would definitely have some of those people sitting by the back door. And it has nothing to do with with anything other than I can't stand you. And you have no purpose. You bring no sunshine to my life. You bring crazy. So therefore, not only am I going to alleviate myself from you, I'm going to do the whole family a favor. You sit them by the back door, Michelle.
Wait, so you're selling people who are not really functional? That's not cool for the buyer.
But they don't know that.
That's a scam. You need to sell good people. That's the whole purpose. They need to be good people.
They don't know that.
No, you wouldn't know about that. You could look at them, they look like they're normal.
Oh, if I come to your home to buy somebody, I'll be looking like, like they used to.
No, really. You wouldn't even know, you wouldn't even know that. So that's one thing you don't know, Rick. That
Oh, it's like eBay. It's like Amazon.
Yeah.
You get it at home in the package, and then you open like, that's not what I wanted.
Yeah, and just because somebody doesn't work for you doesn't mean they wouldn't work for somebody else.
That's what I'm saying. And plus, they look normal. That's what you understand. A lot of them look like they wouldn't even know they're getting a defected item or person until they until they get them home.
Oh my goodness! No warranty, huh? No warranty. No.
No warranty.
Seriously, usually you get a lifetime
Make
warranty.
For a major holiday, so they all dressed up and pretty. You understand what I'm saying?
Oh, the best would be a garage sales. You go in your house, you take all the people who are like in your house, you put it in the garage, like $1 deal. Mom, shh, go.
We have lost our
I
minds.
guess I was just taught, your family is your family. Blood is thicker than water and all of that. And whether you like them or not, they're still going to be your family.
Well,
you've been misled, Michelle. No.
Michelle, that saying is precisely the reason it was possible. You owe this to your family. Blood is thicker. My daughter, we're in debt. Your little brother who's a shithead is going to die of hunger, and he's very precious to the family. You, on the other hand, you got to get married one day. So you know what? I'd rather be at 6 years old. This is how it worked. You owe us. Come on, we gave you life. Think about your family. They do that in Thailand, Morocco. Young girls go to the big city so that the family, the farmer family in the back, the rice fields get money back home. But they never talk about it.
They do that here, Rick. They do that
here too. Yeah, no, definitely. I
mean, plenty of it. That goes on every day. In 2021. So it's that's what happens. Anyways, since Gio loves her family, she's not giving anybody away. I didn't say immediate family, Gio. I'm talking about the uncle with the gold tooth.
Him. Oh, okay.
No. Wait. That's added value. That's added value.
The gold tooth. Okay,
the uncle
he's
with
on
the gold
special.
Tooth. There's still that had nothing to say but stupid. You know what I'm saying? That one.
That was just this was just hard for me to wrap my head around what is going on with people. And and I guess that's why I asked the question, the part D, how about pimps and hoes? Is how does this differ? Does it differ from selling your family into slavery?
Well, usually pimps feed on runaway girls who have problems at home. So, this is strange. This idea that if a girl doesn't have a home, or a family or a official master, if you will, then she's available to all to take.
That's
And
true.
the strongest, most brutal guy will get her.
That's true.
And of course, he loves her. He's the family she never had. That's how they start. That's how they get them. And then, for us tonight, come on, suck his, just so we can get a hotel room. He's got the money. That's how they get them. I mean, it's this whole idea. I always tell people, if you have a young teenage girl, whatever her race and the birth of the origin and the money, do never let your daughter work alone in a foreign country as a so-called aid or something, whatever. She'll disappear.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why we men, unfortunately, keep on this cycle of sexism, because if I have a daughter, I know what men do, and I'll treat her like she's different. It's like black children being raised where they shouldn't be learning about how to raise your hands in front of a police officer when you're 3 years old. But clearly at 7 they gassed them and hit them in the face, so yeah, they should learn really fast. But it's not normal that they get through this daunting thing and white kids don't. So what I'm saying is this strange side. I think we need to reinforce a system towards children that is taking them as individuals. They're not perfectly formed, but individuals, and not because they're not perfectly formed. We come back, in Europe, Condorcet, the enlightened philosopher who was decapitated, we decapitated everybody, thought that humankind was like a human being, childhood, teenage years, etc. Childhood is Africa. Savagery. They don't know what they're doing, they're crazy, we're going to educate them. And sometimes when we love somebody, you hit them. Because, then teenage years, it was Rome and Greece for whatever reason, like it's not in the right order. And of course, adulthood is the West. Because, we're adults. And the elderly will be maybe China. I don't remember what he says, but it's gibberish. But it's still there, this idea that children, when we want to enslave people, we don't tell them they're horrible people. We tell them they're irresponsible and we're helping them. Same thing with pimps and hoes. Hey, you can't live on your own. I'm here for you, babe.
Well,
I'm not a pimp, by the way. It sounds like it, but no, I'm not. I have no experience.
Don't be telling on yourself, man. No.
You could have done it, Rick.
Oh God, Rick, you just.
Yeah, but no, that's the thing. If you're alone, if you don't have the protection of a family, then yeah, you're gonna be prey.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's very sad. It just this chapter, it just feels like, well, as Graeber says, not that much has changed in 5,000 years.
Nothing has really, as far as I'm concerned. You see the same thing. It's just now it's dressed up. You know what I'm saying? It's not somewhere else.
Yeah, we have different names for it.
Different names for it. It's all dressed up in this neat little fictitious make-believe package. It's just so pathetic. It really is. But
he's coming to a chapter which talks about the two ages, the Axis ages and the age of I don't remember what, or primordial. There's this strange intellectual web in Europe of thinkers since like several centuries that think that modern times are decadent. The Middle Age was actually great. The ancient times that we all revere, ancient Greece, was actually horrible. And Graeber talks in the chapter about the fact that the difference between these two ages, one is an economy of credit. There's no slavery. It's abolished and stuff. And the other one is an economy of debt through coinage. And you'll talk about Cortez and the conquistadors, how they behaved in South America, and how it all changed. Slavery comes when you have a currency, because then you can divide human beings. But until you have a credit economy, here's the thing: the TIV and all these nations, it's not slavery what they're doing. But enslavers thought, hey, we can work with that. But the enslavers didn't respect the implicit metaphysical rules that the thief had. Yes, you're the ghost wife, because that man shouldn't have died. And the ghost wife, Graeber, I think, reminds it, the ghost wife found in another sometimes. And you could have become a very powerful ghost wife when you had several powerful dead husbands. You couldn't control the whole village. So when the enslavers came in, they were like, maybe you can use that and use their morals against them. Hey, I gave you something cool. What am I going to get? And one of my men in my ship died. Wait, our culture has, but they didn't think we would take them, entire ocean, to work forever because they were pawns. They're supposed to come back.
Yeah.
So we lied. And that's what we did the same thing with Native Americans. Oh, that's that Chinese stuff. That's nice. Here's some skins. No, there's no germs in it. What? Well, nothing. Thank you for the gold. Here's some lead. Thank you for the gold. We knew it had no value. We knew it was wrong when we did it, but we didn't tell the people we're doing because we were scamming people.
Still are. Still are. I want to get to the how do we break these patterns? Because it just feels like we go around in circles.
Well, you know, when people, the United States has so many different cultures, and people come from all over the world. And when they come, they bring their cultures with them, particularly here. So it's just so many cultures and so many beliefs. You understand? It's even if you wanted to do what? No, you can't break that. There's nothing you, and that's not being pessimistic. It's impossible. There's just too many cultures.
Well, I'm never going to get into that, Venita. Venita knows. She says things like that just to aggravate the.
I'm not trying to aggravate you, but you know, that's my opinion. I'm entitled to my opinion from what I see.
You are entitled to your opinion.
And I just think it's so difficult.
Absolutely support that. The only thing I am ever saying when you go into negative Nelly,
that's not negative.
I would never agree with the concept that that's not negative. Because I can't get up in the morning if I genuinely believe that the world is just the way it is.
I did not.
First of all, it hasn't always been this way.
No,
it
but
has not always been this way. And
that's not what Graeber said. No.
Are specific events.
If that keeps on going, I'm selling everybody.
That happened, that came and created change. And just like those changes, just like slavery came into being, I believe, because it's my right to believe what I want to believe, I believe that humanity can get to a point where it starts to do things better.
Okay, that's now on that point, Michelle.
Yes, Gio.
How do you see that happening? I mean, what would be the first steps toward it? And then after that?
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely don't think it's easy. I absolutely don't think it is quick. You all know from the Global Black Feminists, you've heard me talk about the 500-year plan. And really, I think we need a lot more than 500 years because we're talking about behaviors that have been reinforced over thousands of years. You know, but even as he talks about in this chapter, the majority, Rick, how old is humanity? It's way older than 5,000 years. What are we, about 75,000 years, I believe? But he talks about in this chapter how the majority of human development occurred within the context of human economies. Commercial economies are the new kids on the block. 5,000 years was of commercial economies. And so, we may need another 5,000 years of abusing people and destroying the earth and driving everybody insane. We may have to blow up the planet before a new species emerges that says, hey, been there, done that, not gonna do it again. So I don't know how long or how it happens, but I do believe that a part of the reason I call this group Reading for Change is I do believe a significant part of it is how we resource ourselves, how we build our own base of knowledge, how we begin to make choices as individuals to do things differently. Venita did not raise her children the way her parents raised her. It was a conscious choice. And that's what I mean, that we have the power, we have some power to make conscious choices if we bring awareness and consciousness to our actions, to our behavior. And so much of our behavior is just living out programming that we have no idea where it comes from.
Well, Michelle, there's been changes. And when you think about it, these changes have collapsed empires, religion. And when I say that, I don't talk about institutionalized religion. Institutionalized religion always comes 4 centuries later when it's too late and trying desperately to change, But think about Jesus Christ. Even whether he existed or not is not a debate, but just what the gospel says. There is no property. This woman is a prostitute. Stone her if you want to, but there's no property. And same thing for Muhammad. Muhammad came in and said, this is not normal that the merchants use the stone where Abraham almost sacrificed in Islam, Ismail, and make poor pilgrims pay. Muhammad started like that as well. That was his mission against the Quraysh. Moses living in filth and slavery, and he's growing up in the middle of that and realizes, wait, no, this is not my people. And God says, I am the one who is. You can't possess me. You cannot name me. I am not one of your pagan idols that you can control like demons and in magic. And,
Right.
and so it's religion is their Buddha too. Very rich guy discovers death. When he goes out of the palace, the legend where he meets somebody who is sick, somebody who's an elderly and a homeless man, and he sees. So it was a lie, all this perfection, and you think about that. At first, they revolutionized religion. They almost collapsed several empires. Well, actually, the Roman Empire, to me, is collapsing because of Christianity, because you can no longer have this brutal military system where, hey, slaves, there you go, crucifixion, go to the left, crucifixion to the left. Oh, you're getting stoned, right? The Romans were like that. We have truly, and all of a sudden you have this guy coming out, love thy neighbor like yourself. Why? He sucks. So
because beliefs matter. What we believe matters.
But we need somebody, and that's the idea of Messiah, who is able to show the road to people without telling them to take it. That's the difference, and very small, slim difference between a guru and a Messiah. A guru says, you need to follow me this way and that way, or you're against me. A real Messiah would say, this is the way. If you have ears, you'll hear. I cannot force you to take that road. I cannot force you to come back from the dead, leper, if you don't listen to me. Okay. So, of course, they had to kill him.
Of course. But his ideas live on, and we still have access to those ideas if we choose to believe them, if we choose to follow them.
But look, even for centuries, people were reading the Bible and not realizing that what the Catholic Church was doing was crazy. And then one guy who was a monk, wrote a letter and put it everywhere. And I don't remember which town in Germany, and it created, Lutheranism, which was a problem for Catholics because it was saying, hey, why are we buying our way to heaven? This is not how the Trinity is bullshit. It's not in the Bible. All these things are bullshit. It's the pagan, it's stuff mixed with, because it's still the survival of the Roman Empire through the Catholic Church. That's not Jesus they're talking about. And also the Catholic Church, when I was a kid, they always all tell us, careful when you read the Bible, don't read it literally. There's a lot of context. Those are Catholics. That's how I was taught. You need to read the founding fathers, Augustinus, Thomas Aquinas, all these guys. You need to read them first, then you can understand the Bible. But the Bible says I should give money to the poor people, only those that are worthy. Read Augustinus.
The fine print. There's always some
So,
fine print.
so yeah. Well, I don't know. Where did Venita? Did she leave us?
Yes, Michelle.
What, did I scare her away?
I'm not going to
I
say
doubt it.
no. I'm not going to say that. But we need to get her back. Hey.
Well, it is 7:30. Maybe she had to go. But no, Venita knows that is an argument that we have all the time because we genuinely see the issue differently. She genuinely believes change is not possible. I genuinely will not wake up tomorrow if I have to believe that. She probably could not wake up tomorrow if she believed that she had to put on rose-colored glasses and, pretend that real change was possible. So, so they're just two extremes that and a lot of people are at different extremes of that question.
Well, you need to watch The Thin Red Line, you and Venita, to understand each other. In The Thin Red Line, Sean Penn is Venita, and you're the actor who played then in The Passion of Christ, who's an idiot, but whatever. It's about Guadalcanal, the invasion of Guadalcanal by Terrence Malick, but it's not your usual war movie. You can hear what they're thinking while they're fighting. And Sean Penn is in this world, a man alone is nothing. And the other guy says, I saw another world. There is a union possible. And so in the middle of all this war and horror, the guy looks at the trees like, oh, you're so beautiful. And Sean Penn is like, this is war, like it's horrible, humans are disgusting, nothing ever changes. And it's their interaction that leads to an incredible movie where it's metaphysics in the middle of war. It's the only movie actually where you can hear the Japanese insulting back the Americans and are humanized. Like at one point there's a guy in the bushes, he sees Japanese trying to escape, shoots one, he's like, I shot one, and in his head, like, I killed a man, worse than rape, but nobody can get me for that. And you hear what they say in their heads when they slaughter the Japanese in a camp. You can hear in their heads, what are we doing? The Thin Red Line. It's Terrence Malick, 1990. It was The Thin Red Line. It was obscured by Saving Private Ryan that was released during the same summer. And Terrence Malick's 3 hours, 30 minutes. And it's a lot of meditations about war. You have some horrible scenes, but they're not gruesome. It's horrible in the sense that they show you that it's war on a paradise. It's nobody wants Guadalcanal except for the airport. And you see the Japanese Americans killing each other in the middle of the Aboriginal people who look at them like, whoa, you're crazy. And you see nature suffering. You see all the trees being destroyed. You see the guys, there are some incredible scenes and, and you hear everybody speak. You hear in their heads, you hear Nick Nolte. He's the old colonel who missed both world wars in a way. So it's his last chance. So he becomes a fanatic in the war field, but you have Sean Penn, who's the pessimistic guy, but actually you think he's cynical, but he spends his time selfishly trying to save people who are dead, but they're in pain. So he's trying desperately to go there. Like at one point, there's a guy saying he does something extremely brave, and for nothing, but still. And the guy says, "Oh, I will recommend you for a Silver Star. Say you can keep that. All of this because of property." He gets super angry, and he just says that all of this because of property. Well, no, World War II is about, the fight against evil. No, he's right. Still about property. And so, yeah, it's a great movie. I mean, and it's Malick. It was his first movie in 20 years. So John Travolta and George Clooney play cameos in the movie of 30 seconds, and they're not paid.
Wow.
That's how badly they wanted to be in it. And yeah, it's really
Look for it. Have you seen Exterminate All the Brutes?
no.
Not yet.
You saw it, Gio?
No, not yet.
Oh,
Um,
it's very interesting. What's the guy's name? Raul. Raul. It's a documentary, like docudrama, I guess you would call it. And it's 600 years, I think, of human history, from a very, very truthful perspective. So, yeah, highly recommend it. Right now it's on HBO Max, which I don't have, but you can get a 7-day free trial.
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Maybe I should check. I didn't forget to stop that. I tried it. When was that? I took the free
Uh-oh.
trial.
Oh, no, see,
That's how they get you.
I think it was more than 7 days ago. Oh no. Oh no. I need to cancel that right away. Oh,
No, wait until after you watch Exterminate All the Brutes.
okay.
right,
Yeah.
right.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah.
Okay, anything else anybody wants to say about this chapter? Was it what you expected in a trap? This one point, if you go down to question 30, I think it is, the Bali, just the point about how there's this pattern. There's this pattern of create chaos, just come and start killing people and stealing people and create chaos. And then come in and say, well, we can restore order. And again, that's just another one of those cycles that we got to figure out how to break. It's just, it's too much. It's too much for me to accept that we're not smart enough to stop beating our head. It's like when you beat your head against the wall, doesn't it hurt at some point? And doesn't it occur to you at some point, maybe I should stop beating my head against the wall? I know what happens.
In psychology, people who do that, they always say it's because they want to get the thought out of their head. When I was a kid, I had the tendency to do that. And it hurts, but the hurt makes you forget your anxiety. And there is this part in humankind that when other people hurt, but you're hurting by hurting other people, but you're still winning. You're still controlling things. I think Nietzsche said something incredible at the end of the genealogy of morals. We'd rather want nothingness than not want, because he talks about nihilism, that people would want horrible things, destructive things, and believe in like, for him it's Christianity, the absolute nihilism, like he hates it. And he says they'd rather believe in something that's not true, another world, and say, because he says Christianity tells you this life sucks, you can't commit suicide though, but it sucks, the real life is after. And Nietzsche says that's a great way to get people to think that everything they do is sin, and therefore weaken them. And it's nihilism. And people rather believe in this nothingness, this void, because they still want, and their will has an outlet. Whereas if when he says, if you look too deep into the abyss, beware that the abyss doesn't look back at you, that's exactly what it says. When you study yourself truly, you realize you're nothing. You have no free will. Your consciousness is something superficial and wrong. And the real abyss is, wait, all of this is a sham? No. It's normal for me to want women. It's normal for me to want this, want that. I need to want. But it's nothingness. It leads to nothing. No. because not wanting is the end of life. And it's the paradox of Nietzsche is that the will to power leads also to its most decadent forms. The will to power is the powerful warrior who crushes people without seeing them over. That's real power. It's you're not here to control people. You hurt them by accident because you're big and fat. Whereas weaklings will poison the strong. Hey, you're too strong. That's because you're a mean person. Am I? Yes. You can beat those people from me if you want to. Or okay, that makes me a good person. Yes, and you should not fight. You should study. You should study religion, philosophy, and become decadent yourself. That's the whole process for Nietzsche. So that's how governments are created, or decadent. Because and then he says Germany. He writes in 1880. Before he became insane, he wrote the two biggest plagues of Germany are anti-Semitism and beer, and their combination will lead to the greatest catastrophe of the 20th century. And he's in the 19th. And
Why beer?
his sister actually, when he became insane, took his book, redacted it, published it under the name The Will of Power to Become an Aryan Thinker, which he wasn't pro-Aryan, he was pro-Jewish. And then she gave the cane of Nietzsche to Hitler. Nietzsche, when he spoke about his sister, said there are two disgusting forms of life on earth. When I look at what is the most lowest form of life, look at my mother and my sister. Oh, he was brutal. He was. That's why everybody reads him like, oh, he's really mean.
Wow.
But they were horrible people. They were anti-Semites. His sister, Foster Nietzsche, she's the one who founded the first Aryan colony in Argentina with her husband to have pure Aryan children. Nietzsche used to remind her, we're Polish, you moron.
Okay. Wow. Information. Look at how important it is. You hear these quotes and, oh, this great thinker, this great mind. But if you
stories,
research the background, you're like, this asshole, why are we listening to what he's saying? He didn't even believe it. Okay.
But it's the same thing with the Bible. You know how when I read how it was written the first time before the gospel, it was the successor of Alexander the Great in Egypt, who would be the great-grandfather of Cleopatra. So they're Greek. People forget about that. It was strange for Egyptians to have a white queen. Very strange, but whatever. And the Ptolemies, they had Palestine at that time under their rule. And they were fighting each other. The Jewish people were fighting each other. The real God is this. That's how. So he got angry. Said he took 50. Was it 50? There's a 50 or 30 wise men from the Jewish, the Hebrews, and said, we force you in. So you come to Cairo, not Cairo, it was Alexandria. You must stay indoors and you must decide which oral tradition is canon. Stop fighting over which myth is right. So who was it? Was it Isaac or Ismail? Was it this? You have 50 days or something. And they came out with this book. And they left aside the Lilith myth. I don't know if you know about Lilith.
Yeah.
There's oral tradition in the Middle East saying that when Adam and Eve were together, the snake wasn't the problem. God had created Lilith.
Oh, Lilith. Uh-huh.
And she's the bringer of the light, which means Lucifer, which is, So they left it aside because they're like, and they almost left aside, the erotic poem in the Bible, Cantique des Cantiques, the Chants of Chants. I don't know if they almost left it out. Oh, there's an erotic, the one that says, oh, great power, spread your leg of likeness so that I can fulfill myself. You're like, that's kind of porn. It's a metaphor. Yes. It's not though, right?
Just a complete mind fuck, right? Oh yes, we're gonna take these scriptures right here and tell you this is about God. Oh my goodness.
Don't come on my back. Oh, that's a metaphor. What do you mean?
With that same kind of propaganda reality shape-shifting is what we're witnessing today before our very eyes.
Yeah.
The election was stolen. There's no capital invasion. What are you talking about?
Right.
Nothing happened.
It was just some tourists.
Mind-blowing how a myth can, in ancient anthropologists in Europe used to think myths take time to take hold, centuries of tradition, and no, 1 year. It takes 1 year for something to spread like fire.
Now, the election was stolen. And now state after state after state is conducting audits.
But that's the thing, that Democrats are idiots, because you know what I would say? I would say, right, we need to make our elections more secure. I think we need to audit the votes of 2016, 2012, 2008, 2004, 2000, 1990. No, seriously, and say, let's do this. Let's do it till Reagan. And the Democrats can also find stuff. Let's do this. Let's go chaos. Let's go scorched earth. No, Democrats are so weak. Why aren't they using them at their,
What is going on with the Democrats? And so now the companies are saying in those states where they've had the cyber ninjas conducting.
Fuck everything, just let's say it, enough. It's like a bad novel, a bad Tom Clancy novel, and then
Now,
Cyber Ninja audited Arizona.
The people that own the voting machine, rightfully, I think, are saying, well, those machines are going to have to be destroyed because we can't stand by them, after you've tampered with them.
Yes.
Millions of dollars per state to pacify a fucking lie.
But there's something I don't get with their audit. If they're auditing votes, they're auditing also the votes for the governor or for representatives in the local area. So Republicans should also be. So you see, it's like Democrats, instead of playing along and say, "Oh, you're right," and destroying them from within, which every great politician does, they didn't do it. And the moral outrage doesn't work. And also it's fake coming from Democrats. I'm sick and tired of white people coming up and saying what you can and cannot say about minorities, because that's not theirs to say. It's starting to really be enough of all this BS on both sides, because when you think about it, the Supreme Court is the only place where rights are still enabled. Until when, I don't know, but Congress hasn't passed a major bill since Obamacare.
They won't.
You know what I mean? Nothing's functioning. The presidency is not functioning anymore. And when people tell me we should trust the FBI, you can't say that when they lied to us, the CIA, FBI, about Iraq, about Iran, about everything.
Right.
And to have kids today feel happy to report their parents that were in the Capitol. I'm sorry, even if my mother was in the Capitol and I hated that, I'm not telling anybody, fuck off. And the FBI can find her on her own. You need me to find her? You, the FBI? She's got a Facebook account. People becoming snitches is a good thing. I'm sorry, it's just, except if you're a serial killer or about to kill somebody, I'm not reporting you.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe it's old school.
But the thing is, they let them tear up the Capitol, sit on the walls, and walk out the door.
And they're getting they're getting bail. They're getting bail.
If they wanted to arrest anybody, they had the opportunity to do it.
No, but this is where you need to, if I were an Al-Qaeda operative, I would sue the American government for discrimination. Why am I? No, seriously, as a terrorist, why do I get no bail? Why do these guys get bail? Hey, I'm sorry, my uncle in Saudi Arabia can pay. Don't worry, just get me out of here. And I'm always telling people, I'm thinking about Al-Qaeda and ISIS having their meetings in Syria and Afghanistan, being like, we should become American, wear MAGA hats, just get in,
there you
and
go.
kill them all.
Yes.
You could.
Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? If this is the non-response that we're seeing. And so I don't know. Anyway, you all, Rick, I got my first shot.
Oh, good. How do you feel?
I feel good.
Okay, good. Yeah,
I have a
the
little,
stiffness takes 5-7 days. It took me long, 5 days to really go away.
mine didn't even last that long, maybe about 3 days.
Oh, you're badass. I'm a
Oh.
puss. It took me 7 days for seriously. I'm so
Yeah,
weak.
I got the Pfizer only because I had checked with one of my doctors about it, my GI guy,
Good. Yeah.
and that's when he said, "Well, we have it here at the hospital if you want to do the Pfizer." So I did it there. I didn't get one of the incentive prizes though.
Darn. What?
I'm,
No
I'm
lottery
Yeah.
money?
They're doing that after I did it. I'm like, that's unfair.
You guys
I
need
won
to
the lottery.
sue. You need to
I
sue.
want that $1 million
Unfair treatment.
lottery.
Yeah. I'm like, seriously? And I'm sure some people are going to go in. You already had one. Oh, come on. I just need a second ticket. Come on.
Yeah, I mean,
When you see them playing a lotto, you're going to die of side effects. No, it's good. Do it.
But I'll have enough money to have a good time before I kick off. No.
You will be paralyzed.
I know.
Oh my
No, but
goodness.
I feel good. But if I'm not here next week, then you'll know I dropped dead. So
No,
there's
no.
that.
Oh,
Now, by the
no.
way, Germany probably identified the cause of the blood clots from
Oh,
the J&J
really?
and the AstraZeneca. It's the technology. That's what happens with traditional vaccines when you develop them in 1 year. Normally, the adenovirus should enter only the membrane of the cell, where it will replicate the information of the spike protein for the immune system, but it goes all the way inside the cell, creating a reaction where a lot of these spike proteins are leaked outside of the cell and creating blood clots. So
Wow.
nobody's sure about that, but the German scientists presented that to their government yesterday. So
Wow.
it can be corrected. That's the good news. If Johnson
Okay.
Johnson and AstraZeneca go back to the drawing table, it doesn't take that much work to get it right. But then you need another year of testing.
Okay.
So, but yeah,
On the public. That's the test. The test is on the public.
but that's a
Right.
problem. That's why
Okay.
Pfizer, I knew from the start, Moderna, based on maths and RNA, was a better fit for everything. Actually, when they said all vaccines are equal, I was like, stop saying these things. Be truthful. Stop thinking people are idiots, because then you help the
What?
idiots make a point.
You said two things that are un-American. Tell
The
the truth.
majority of Americans are Americans are not idiots. Americans are like people you tell you. I blow their mind all the time when I was with we were a bunch of friends, and just for context, everybody's black except me and another guy. The other guy says, well, Egyptians were white. All the black guys, of course, went to the ground like, oh no, it's and I had to show him hieroglyphs where you see the people are, colored brown or black. They're not colored, super white skin, pink skin and stuff. And they're like, yeah, but it's a symbol. And everybody just laughed. Like, seriously, you're going to deny at this point it's a symbol? Why would you symbolize people being black? And he thought, oh, you're right. Yeah, what would be the symbol of that? I'm white, but I'm presenting myself as brown. Why would Egyptians do that on their pyramids for thousands of years? Like, no,
And
we're
so
white,
you were
but let's
saying
represent ourselves as black.
you were
Right.
saying Americans are not stupid. Was that your illustration?
No, he finally accepted it, but it's just they're raised with this dogma of continuous progress. At one point, when they say what this idiot Santorum said, there was nothing here. He's not very cultivated, because there were actually empires with pyramids, even in North America. Just that they didn't need to build. I mean, it was stupid to build with bricks. They built with, it's easier. You can transport things when it's Mississippi. There are floods everywhere. Yeah, of course they need their city to be able to be transported. But Santorum proved his point. There was nothing here. Oh, when we arrived, well, you made it nothing because you arrived with smallpox, you retard. Sorry.
Okay.
I don't know. It's odd how Americans get angry at me when I remind them that Hiroshima and Nagasaki were absolutely not necessary from a purely military standpoint.
Yeah.
But they needed to send a message to the Soviet Union about don't come in. and you know they
And the
it's
rest of
it's
us
tough.
are just pawns. I mean, the whole Israel Palestine has been, so much in the news
Self-defense, okay?
recently. But, I mean, there were people there when the world powers decided to carve out this land. It wasn't empty, barren land
No.
for Israel. And I'm happy that Israelis have a homeland. But
Question.
why should that mean that the Palestinians can't also have a homeland?
Yeah, but remember, the Jewish
Because
state.
they were pawns.
Well, the Jewish state was created also. It's strange when you think about it. So France owned Syria and Lebanon. Oh, wait, yeah, and the British owned Palestinian territories. We left and we let that happen, but then afterwards, the nuclear weapon that the Israelis have was gifted to them by France under de Gaulle secret gift. And the reason for that is, Jewish people should never forget who killed them, who deported them, who burned their houses for centuries. And Arabs should never forget who bombed them, invaded them, colonized them, and destroyed their culture as well. And our greatest feat, us the West, is that we managed to get these two victims of our colonial ideology and to fight each other. So we get free oil. And banking is beautiful. And the thing is, I'm so angry to see that if Jewish people realize that Arabs are their cousins and they could work well together, they could come back at us for what we did. We found beautiful excuse. We support Israel, so we never talk about when we did not support Jewish people at all, and even gave them to the enemy.
Exactly.
Or the Americans threw them away offshore.
Right.
And this whole self-defense thing is really, I'm not saying they should shoot rockets or whatnot, but it's like forgetting the context. If you attack me, Michelle, and just give me some little slaps, and I punch you with my elbow in your nose and temple and break your skull, and I call that self-defense, I don't know if a judge will accept that.
Right.
Sure, you hurt me a little bit, but I broke your nose.
Right.
I thought self-defense should be proportional, right?
Yeah.
It should be.
Missiles. They always said 1,000, 2,000 rockets fired that night. How about the missiles? How many?
Well, and it kills me when they say this was happening in the first few days where there were I don't know, there were 6 Israelis killed. There were 8 Israeli killed. There were 12 Israeli killed. They weren't even giving the number of Palestinians killed. Then when some of the stations started to give the number of Palestinians killed, the number of newly homeless people, then my question was, why are you even mentioning the damage to
they stopped. You know why?
Yeah. They strategically blew up the building. The news.
No, it was an accident. We're so sorry. We didn't mean to target the AP and Al Jazeera. Oh, no, that missile, that's super precise, incredible technology, just made a mistake.
Yes.
Take us for idiots. That reminds me of when the Americans bombed the Chinese embassy in Kabul when they invaded Afghanistan in 2001, said it was a mistake. Infrared, satellite guided missiles don't make such mistakes.
No.
We're so sorry.
But there are advantages to keeping your population and your women.
It's still racial.
A little light.
There's something that people don't. Lucien Robaté was a French author who was a collaborator, active collaborator to the Nazi regime. So when the French got their independence back, the guy was judged and death penalty for treason. So guillotine. And de Gaulle, who loved his book, said, no, you know what? let's do this. Lifetime imprisonment. After a few years, they made it into get out, whatever. But he was a fascist. He really hated Jews. Like his books were very clear about that. And wait, before he died, said, "I never thought I would say that. I think now Jews are the true Westerners." And the guys are like, "Are you crazy?" No, they actually now understand nationalism. They have their country. They'll defend it against inferior people. They'll preserve the purity of their race. I think now they're the real way. It's crazy when you think about it. But he made a point. The state of Israel has nothing to do with Ben Gurion anymore. It's a theocracy and a racial one at it.
Yeah.
How they treat Arabs, how they treat Jews from Africa.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, you're from the bastard. You're the bastard sons of Solomon. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's very nice. Love to be Jewish.
Right.
And if any of that stuff was really true.
That's the thing. We fight over. We're nerds. We're fighting over Star Wars and Lord of the Rings. No,
Yeah.
Frodo was the real ring bearer. No, it was Pippin, the last one to wear.
Yes.
Take that away. Look at Comic-Con, the birth of religions. Comic-Con is where religions are born. I'm a Trekkie. What are you? Star Wars. Enemy, heroic.
Right. Oh,
Right, you are.
sick. We are some sick beings. We need help.
Well, aliens, you heard about that, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
You saw the images.
The alien.
The Pentagon is finally releasing them, Michelle.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
The pilots are so giddy, like, yeah, I can't catch it. I can't lock it. Don't lock it. Maybe it can detect that and maybe it can take action. Just don't want to know how it can take action.
Right.
Yeah.
My mom is asking me why they're not interacting. I'm like, well, they're making animal documentaries. Wildlife in space.
Right.
Humans.
Exactly.
Fascinating behavior from a human suitor trying to find a female. Hey, baby. They film them. And there comes another male. Hey, yo, that's my girl.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah. Graeber actually makes that point somewhere in the chapter about, let's not judge the folks we read about, because what will we do if we were invaded by space aliens who were more powerful and they wanted us to bring them some slaves? What would we do?
Hey, I know, I love you, but think about it. They're gonna cure your sister's cancer if you go with them in space. They said you'll have a good time.
Take one for the team, Michelle.
No, but that's a Twilight Zone episode.
Yeah.
Where aliens come to Earth and they give to humankind all the cures to every disease in this episode. And they have this book they found and they can't translate it. So there's this lady translating it, and then she realizes it, and they tell people every month 10,000 humans can go to our planet and experience the greatness of cosmic existence. And he's in the line to get in, and she comes in. It's a recipe book.
Yes. That's to serve mankind. That's that episode. Classic.
Incredible episode. Yes. They were so bold, these guys. When you think about that, those shows were better than today. Today it's like, what?
Yes. I'm like remembering how the old shows we used to watch: Star Trek, Twilight Zone, Outer Limits. The concepts presented, when I was young, I didn't get all of it, but now I'm real like, what happened to these guys? And we didn't learn anything. We just thought it was for fun.
It wasn't actually. It was really good, when it's, I don't know, I because of the pandemic, they did reruns. There's nothing left. They're better shows that the Bradbury Chronicles too. These were better shows than today. Sure, special. Who cares about special effect? It's like theater. It's make believe. You got to get into it yourself. Yeah. I mean, Jurassic Park, even if you have CGI, you still need to believe in it a little bit. Otherwise, it doesn't work. So, no, I don't know. These shows were incredible. But today it's all, like we're adults, and my generation, we're watching just reruns of like Dragon Ball. They did a new show. I'm in my 40s. I watched them. That's my problem. I was like, hey, let's watch it. Oh, that's really cool.
Oh
Really,
my goodness.
really. And I'm like, shit, I'm 38. And I'm still watching Son Goku saying, I'm going to show you my fifth form. I'm like, but I still get angry at people
Yeah.
telling me they not getting right the concept of Super Saiyajin.
Oh,
There is a whole story behind it. Oh, you see where I'm going. Religion
yeah.
again. Dragon Ball.
There you go. Anything
All right,
can be that.
Rick, we have to start figuring out when we can have a date because, well,
whenever you want.
I still have to get my second vaccine.
You're right, but I'll wear a mask. I know, because even if I'm vaccinated, I'm protecting you. They say the Pfizer works against the Indian variant. Good news.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to be wearing my mask forever.
Well, you know,
They work.
the funny story is they reminded about this lab leak theory. A journalist reminded the president, I mean an epidemiologist, Mr. President, I know where you're going with that, but during the Ebola outbreak, Carl Johnson brought back a kid who seemed to have Ebola. It wasn't Ebola. There's so many pathogens out there we have no idea exist in the outer skirts of civilization, where there are villages, and they call that snap epidemics. They kill everybody in the village, and like, what happened? I don't know. Everybody's dead. But maybe it was like worse than COVID, and maybe COVID had lived forever in other regions, and one day a scientist went there and probably.
I mean, if we just think about,
Right.
all the shit Laura Garrett put on our heads.
Yep.
There's a lot of nasty stuff out there.
And in places we don't
Yeah.
think about, subways. They analyzed the subways of the world recently. They found 800 new pathogens they didn't know existed, and they're like, we're fine. They're not dangerous. I'm like, yeah, they're not until they become dangerous. It's called mutations.
I've seen some horror movies about that. Wait, who wouldn't believe there were many pathogens in the subway? Okay.
In New York City,
You already knew that.
they found pathogens they thought could only exist in rainforests, and they found anthrax. Anthrax.
Okay.
At the natural state. That means somebody had a goat or sheep in New York one day, and that's possible in the subway. Everything is possible in the New York subway. It's a twilight zone. You get in, you're like, here's a guy with a sheep.
Okay.
Seriously, you wouldn't be that surprised. Like, that happened.
Yes, that's true.
That guy's got a monkey. New York.
Yeah.
The homeless guy has a car in the car? What?
Yeah, but in Texas, they keep tigers.
Why not? Like,
I don't know why not.
well,
Do
that guy with the
tigers like
tiger.
that?
You remember that guy who got arrested with a tiger, and he was walking around with a tiger like it's an hour? Like, how is the tiger not killing everybody? And
Okay.
and people are like, we lost a tiger. How can you lose a goddamn tiger? It's not like it's not like a dog. You're like, whose dog is it? It's like, there's a tiger in the street, Mom. Come. Oh.
Oh,
New York is not the only place with some strange stuff going on. We definitely have more than our fair share, though.
Oh no.
Well,
All
take
right,
care,
you all.
everybody.
You have a good week.
You
You
too.
too. Enjoy
See
your
you
weekend.
next week reading our story together.
Yay!
Yeah, I'm gonna go put one of my family members on the auction. I'm going on eBay.
Not
My
even.
uncle- My uncle is still a good deal. He still can do stuff. He speaks. He sits though. He doesn't
Well,
do.
I got a few I could
God.
let go of.
Oh my goodness.
And if you take my uncle, you can have my cousins with him, free of charge.
Oh, two
No,
for
I'm
one
not trying to take on anymore.
Okay, how about I with a car you pay every month a little bit, and if you want to buy it 5 years later, it can. How about we create that for
Yeah,
humans?
Lease to own. Lease to own.
lease my sister. I don't know for how long? 5 years. If you don't like it, you can bring it back. But then you still need to pay a little. You know,
Yeah, termination fee, early termination fee. No.
early termination fees. Yeah. Well, you bringing back my sister? It's
Oh my God.
$7,000, man. You can't do that.
Oh my
Somebody's
Say
God.
gonna do
401k,
it.
man.
Somebody's gonna do it. We know that.
I'll try. I will lease myself actually.
Oh God.
Oh,
All right, y'all.
I'll
Have a
send
good
you that.
night.
Take care.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Jill.